listening to Shadow Horse Theater Broadcasting. We come to you from the shadowy fields of Minnesota with Dark Pony Radio Show, presented to you by the Dark Pony Players, featuring Megan Noel Johnson. And now is, as always, your hosts, the Scarlet Courtesan and the Dark Gentleman.
In this time where worlds have collided, our trauma and pain are never subsided. You creatures of clay seek each other out, a clouded desperation to resolve this tantamount.
My picturesque porcelain partner of pain. New experiences have tormented the unexpecting, leaving a maliciously melodious mark on their otherwise bleak existence. Sit down, rest a while. Let us humbly horrify you, whilst you imbibe your most infectious, iridescently irreverent libation.
Everyone, please take your seats so we can get started. Okay, the timer has been set.
The clock already? We're still setting chairs.
Hey, move it a little closer. It's supposed to be a circle.
It is.
Don't get mad at me. You're the one scared to sit close to another guy.
I don't bite Nathan.
I'm not scared, Marisol.
Just move the damn chair.
Okay, settle down. Let's get started.
Sorry, Reverend.
Just move it, Nathan.
There. Happy?
Welcome back, everyone. We've got some new faces here today. As I do with every meeting, I'm going to run through a few basics real quick. For some of you, this is repeated, so please bear with me. If this is your first time here, you are not required to share your story or why you are here. We do encourage you to speak, even if it's just a simple, "Hello, my name is." The coffee and pastries in the back of the room are available to all. Please make sure, if you are not vegan, leave those for our vegan participants. Lastly, this is a safe space. If you break the trust and confidence built here, you will be asked to leave and not return. Each person's anonymity is to be respected. Each one of us is here for their own reasons. Are there any questions? All right then, let's get started. Anyone want to start? We need someone to start. How about I start first?
Really?
Okay, fine. Let's start with a simple question. How was everyone's holiday weekend?
Yeah.
I don't remember much.
It was fun.
It was okay.
I got to see my kids without a court liaison.
That is wonderful. This proves progress can be made. If you are willing to allow yourself to feel your feelings and recognize that you are okay with not being okay. Each step forward helps us reach our goals. Anyone else?
It was tough.
Would you like to expound on that? Tough.
Sure. It brought back memories of when I wasn't feeling this way, and I kept seeing myself when I was happy.
Do you mind sharing your name, especially with you being new here?
Oh, yeah, sorry. How does it go? Hello, my name is Violet, and today is my first day, but hopefully not my last day here.
Please, speak your truth, if you want.
My truth?
Yes.
My truth is unbelievable.
We all have unbelievable stories.
Yeah. This is a safe space.
Go ahead, Violet. The floor is yours.
As I mentioned, the holiday weekend brought back a flash of memories for me of when I felt normal, or happy, rather. I keep trying to convince myself life changes and we have to change with it. It's the only way to grow, or some bullshit like that. If I keep thinking about what I was like, it doesn't really help me today, right? Or does it? I just feel lost, you know? And this past weekend just brought all those feelings rushing back, and it makes me so mad because I fall right back into this dark hole where I can't get out of. Then I meet someone, whether it be a new friend or a possible companion. I think that they can help me feel less alone. And I know that is a lot of pressure to put on someone else, and it's not fair to them or me or our dynamic. And I know what you're going to say, Reverend, that I need to find myself before bringing others into my circle. I know you're right. Hell, everyone's told me every kind of advice, and they're right too. I just need to let go.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Trey, did you want to share?
I can. I want to. But I'm not sure. Reverend. Like, Violet, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Like Violet shared, those memories of happiness are what was before I became what I am now, against what was. The bad choices bring regret. If I didn't make one stupid choice, my friends would be alive today. If I hadn't made one stupid choice, I wouldn't have been in and out of the hospital dealing with me. Right? Those thoughts, along with other things rattling around.
It sounds like survivor's guilt, Trey, which is normal, and you shouldn't be afraid to explore that. That's a new angle you haven't shared before. Do you want to try and dive into that today?
Yeah. I can try.
Violet, are you okay with Trey taking a turn?
Oh, yes, that's fine.
Trey, you have the floor.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk. Yes. Let's talk. Right. The Reverend is right. Of course, he is right. Let me see. I should start somewhere, right? Right. I should start from the beginning. Or maybe the middle. Either direction I choose, it all ends the same way. Screams, sounds, nothingness, right? Once again, I'm stuck with choices, one way or another. Which path should I embark on? Doesn't matter, really. Both end the same, but yet the journey is the adventure, or the meaning of it all. It was a road trip. A trip to celebrate a change in life. Portland, Maine to Miami. War changes life. It changed my friend Lacey. She was just like me, lost, but in love with being lost. the allure of the unknown and pull of a direction, but each choices lead to the same end. Semper Fi, the motto that defined Lacey, that defines several people. What defines definition? What words do you use when there is nothing to define? Once you are gone, or I'm gone. What words are defined? Because of my choice, she will never be defined again. Words will never tell us what she looks like or what she feels. In the car sat Lacey, their partner, Thaddeus, and Mortimer. Don't call them Morty. They hate Morty. Again, another definition that'll never be used. Mortimer. Weird that is a word I would define as Mortimer. Weird. They had knowledge of the unknown and unusually historical facts. As the drive continued, Mortimer would randomly shout, "Stop!" or "Look!" and refer to an eldritch cult, parable, or proverb, or "Look, yes, stop, no." We had gotten to a point where I stopped driving and we switched the choice giver. Lacey took my spot as I drifted away, lulled to sleep by the gentle movement. Another choice: if I had been awake, I wouldn't have come to on the dank floor of a basement. Right? Right. A rancid smell. Water dripping all around. The aura of this room of wetness is yet defined once again. Now, to the middle of the story we are, where I should have started, but I choose to start in the beginning. Beginning is easier. Begins are always easy. They are new, fresh, introspectively filled with hope. Future. The defined is not defined, but still being created. Choices are not in sight. The opportunity to go anywhere is still endless. The middle, however, has shape. It's defined. There is still a glimmer of the possibility of hope and future, but the choices are limited. For instance, one choice brightens that future, harnessing and infusing the sensation we had in the beginning. Other choices takes farther away and pushes the beginning sensation to an unattainable plane. We march inevitably closer to that end, where all things meet and collide. The end is the same. I should have started at the end. The end. Everything from the past and future is now defined, ultimately defined. Choices have been made. All you can do is wait. Watch from a singular cage. Lacey in theirs, Mortimer in theirs, Thaddeus in theirs, and me in mine. The light from above taunted us, giving us a little bit of warmth, a pale comparison to the sunlight which they would never see again. This point. There was a plate sitting in front of me, an ornate plate, gold trim, and a little letter on it. I looked around. We all had a plate with a letter. "You choose one," is what I read in my letter. You choose one. Confused, I looked at Lacey, who was staring at me, sullen with tears. I had never seen them cry since we were children. After a moment or two, they bent down and grabbed something from inside the envelope. At first, the light gleamed off it, a small razor blade. Without looking away, their hand went to their neck and they dragged the blade from the right ear under the jaw and across the neck to their left ear. As they collapsed, all I could see was a smile across their face. A smile. A defining word to show happiness. Is that what I need to do to define? I turned to the other cages. Mortimer was curled in a ball, shaking. Thaddeus stood staring at Lacey's cage, not moving, just staring, standing still. The cage doors opened. We each looked into the darkness extended to the edge of the cage. Mortimer screamed, as another sound muffled that scream. Through their mouth, a tentacle pushed out. It lifted Mortimer off the ground. It had extended from the darkness through his anal cavity up through the mouth. Mortimer's eyes were hyper-scanning. Tears were flowing out. The pain they were in was anguish. Thaddeus was nowhere to be seen. I turned to face the hell in front of me. Closing eyes, I choose my darkness. I ran out the open gate. I felt a breeze brush by me. I opened my eyes. I saw a door. The door. I pushed it. A choice. A choice. I was outside. I was standing in the middle of the sidewalk. The middle, again, with 2 ways to go, or a third way. I turned back to the door and opened it. A chime. A defining sound. Welcoming or reminding, I stepped over the threshold. I was in a barber shop. Everyone turned and looked at me for a brief moment. Brief moment. Brief moment. A moment that was so brief it lives with me. The chime goes again. The door opens as someone walks around me. I catch the door and look up at the sun. The heat from the sun on my face. Choices, right? Right? It is the defining definition of what we do. What we do. Right.
It's okay to have these feelings of guilt or remorse. That is natural. Now, how we handle them and what we do to move through our day is up to us. Trey, we are going to move on. You just take a moment for yourself.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Who's next?
Sorry, everyone. While I'm up, does anyone want a cup? No one? Just me? Okay. You all sure? 'Cause... that hits the spot.
Stasha, how are you feeling?
Yep. Good old Brazilian bean. Makes this group session fly by.
Stasha, how are you?
I mean, we deal with such heavy thoughts. The bitter taste of this coffee just cuts right through it. Anybody else feel like that?
Franz?
Oh, my turn? Well, not much to report today, boss. Just,
Coffee, right?
That's right.
Stasha, how are you?
I mean, I guess I could talk about...
Franz? Trying to check in with Stasha.
Oh, my bad. Damn, Franz. Read the room. Go ahead.
Thank you. Stasha, how are you feeling?
Fine.
Nothing more to share?
No.
I can try.
Oh, okay, Violet. Please, go ahead and share.
Right. As you know, I'm new today, and, I lost someone close and dear to me.
We all have. That's why we're here, do you ken?
Stasha, this is a safe space. Violet is allowed to say what she needs to say.
I just hate how yous all walk in here and think you's the only one who's suffered.
Well, to them they are. We all were until we met each other. We all know others have gone through grief or depression, but it is different for each one of us. So, yeah, it does feel like we are the only ones until we recognize we are not alone.
You're right, Stasha. I'm not special. That's why I don't understand why I was chosen.
Chosen?
Yeah, what made me so special or important that my lover would choose me? just to be ripped away from me.
Someone was taken from you?
What a cruel joke, right? I was chosen to feel like this. What did I do wrong to be punished every day?
Nothing. You did nothing wrong.
How do you know? You don't know me.
That's true, Violet. I don't know you. Do you want to change that?
I think I need to.
Go ahead.
I want them back. I need them back with me. Have you all ever felt that? That desire? Okay. I was distant to everyone but myself. After they were ripped from me, I traveled places rumored to be supernatural or magically inclined. I searched out every shaman, priest, rabbi, imams, ayatollah, and guji that I could find, and I came back with the same fucking answer. You don't know what you're playing with. Stop now. Words of warning. I didn't need words of fucking warning. I needed help, answers, anything besides being told no. Everything I have left is worth the sacrifice to have them returned to me. Let me start over. I came from a very Catholic family. I grew up in the church with my parents, and when I mean I grew up in the church, that is where we lived. When I was little, my parents' home caught on fire and we lost everything. So our community had a house owned by the church on their property. We moved in. As I grew up, I started seeing things differently than my parents and friends. I felt like an outcast or an imposter at times, or as some of my friends called me, a wolf in sheep's clothing. My parents, however, said I was having a crisis of faith. But it wasn't a crisis, it was an epiphany. I could see clearer now that I had pushed the fog away and followed my truth. Fast forward a few years, after many arguments, emotional abuse, I finally got my own place. Freedom. But loneliness started to creep into my thoughts. Nothing unusual. One night I went to bed just like any other Wednesday. I had this uncomfortable dream. It was one of those dreams that felt completely real, and I questioned how much of it was a dream. It started off as though it was a normal day. Wake up, shower, have breakfast. I met up with some friends of mine, but with them there was a new face. Everyone treated them as though they were always with us, nothing out of the ordinary. But I felt different. Something was off about this person. My dream would continue. I would get through the day and go to bed and dream. So I would be in this dream within a dream, very Inception-like. But this dream was different. The new person was there, always there. There was something dark, something mysterious about them. Then I would wake from that dream back to my first dream and rinse and repeat. repeat, a never-ending cycle. At first, the worst was the dream within a dream. This person or whatever, it was scary, like this natural terror, like a nightmare. It would talk to me, but not quite in English, but some weird language. Although I didn't understand it, whenever it spoke, it felt threatening. While it couldn't touch me. But as it approached closer and closer, the creature quickly grabbed me. I fought and struggled, but the grip was so tight, I was helpless. Its hands were cold, distant at first. The strangest thing happened. The more it held on, the more I felt at ease. I think it felt that as well. This communication between our bodies caught me off guard. The threatening nature had disappeared. This creature came into focus at that moment. It wasn't a monster, but someone I have always known. It was a part of me, a darkness of me personified as if it were a reflection. This reflection wasn't just a mirror image. It had its own thoughts and desires. I started to understand and speak in the same language. My nightmare had become a place of comfort and love, unlike anything I had felt before. It was pure, unconditional passion and raw emotion that we had embraced. Time was no more. It was just us in the world together. Finally, the two dreams merged and became one. I had become one with us. It started off simple. The pain in my arm, a simple itch, became intolerable and torturous. The itch became agonizing pain. My soulmate panicked at my pain as they began to writhe in their own state. We were being tortured in front of each other as though we were embracing each other's pain. Suddenly, it felt like a hand was reaching into my chest and slowly squeezing my heart to the point of bursting, then releasing, doing it all over again. There was this moment. My lover looked me in the eyes and said they didn't want to go back to the void. The fear in their eyes was haunting. I grabbed on so tightly. I was determined to never let them go. The pain was becoming too much. I couldn't hold on. I tried, but I just couldn't. They slipped away from me. I lost my soulmate to that void of nothingness, to that pain. I broke down in tears and just collapsed and let the darkness around me swallow me. My eyes opened slowly to light shining in my face from a window. I woke up in someone else's bed. I wasn't alone. I looked around the room and there was my mom, Dad, a priest, and a couple of my friends looking down at me. I felt cold and alone. So fucking empty inside. My whole body was shaking uncontrollably and I was soaked in sweat. Physically, it took me a couple of weeks to return to normal. But mentally, I was lost and confused, more distant than ever before. Finally, my friends broke the silence of what had happened, and they told me for 6 months I had been trapped in that bedroom. They were scared and worried, so they reached out to my parents, and my parents, being the religious zealots they are, came racing over with a priest. My parents and the priest thought I was possessed, because while I was out, I guess I was showing signs of classic possession, whatever the hell that means. They didn't bother to call a doctor first. They just assumed a priest would be able to heal what was wrong with me. I argued with them, saying it wasn't true, that they spent too much time reading into the narrative of possession and bullshit like that. I haven't talked to my parents or friends since. As the days continued, I started regaining memories of conversations with my lover. I remembered her name. She called herself Agrat Bat Malet. Such a beautiful name. Agrat Bat Malet. I just want to hear her say it again one more time. I just want to hold her one more time and never let her slip away. I'm chasing this hope that I will one day understand what happened and find her again. In reality, she's gone. She's gone to that nothingness, alone. All alone. That's the hardest part. Knowing she's alone. It feels like I make 10 steps forward with my grief, but then suddenly something reminds me of her, and I'm back in the bedroom, feeling that pain all over again.
I thank you for sharing. It's a big step towards acceptance, sharing like you just did on your first day with us.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting to say all that, but as I started, I just couldn't stop. Shit.
I want to say something.
Go ahead, Stasha.
All of yous. Every single one of you has only experienced loss on such a small scale.
A small scale? Fuck you.
Stasha, no judgment here. This is a safe space. Their feelings are valid just as yours are.
I'm nae judging them for their inexperience. I'm simply stating a fact, do you ken?
Inexperience?
You all have so much limited time here, right?
Yeah.
What if you had infinite time?
I'm sorry, I still don't understand you, Stasha.
Oh, Christ, Marisol. Don't insult someone for their accent.
I'm not. I'm just not catching every word, okay? Do you know what they said?
What if you had infinite time?
I'm with you on this one, Marisol.
Shut up, Franz.
Right?
If I had infinite time, I would find out what had happened to my friends.
I would find a way to bring her back to me.
I would travel.
Really, Franz?
What?
Interesting question. Infinite time.
Anyone else? All good intentions, right? But in reality, it will all fall apart. Because once you realize you have infinite time, You discover nobody else does. The pain you feel, no free your grief is minuscule in comparison. See, it's no judgment I feel, but rather jealousy. And they all get to feel. I became numb to this type of grief centuries ago.
What?
I still come to these meetings, because when I hear everyone's story, it allows me to relive those moments of grief. Even if it's vicariously, do you ken?
Why would you want to relive it?
I want to feel normal again. I want to feel alive.
I apologize if I made you feel unwelcome here. Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around you being centuries old. You've never really opened up before.
Yeah, well, I don't pure gab about a part of my story. The story y'all have heard was true about my childhood and folk issues and my attempt at suicide. I chose to omit a part or two's, do you ken?
Do you feel like sharing that part?
Well, cat's out to the poke. And honestly, the twos I'd talked today definitely raised the bar.
Yeah, no shit.
Franz, you had your chance to gab. It's my turn, so shut it. You mind that bloke I had talked about a couple weeks ago? The brood in Hottabotty from when I was younger?
Yeah.
After we spent the night together, and the naive body that I was, thought, this is it. I found my goodman, my parents will be canty, etc., blah, blah, blah. Long story cutty. He broke my heart. And that eventually led me to suicide.
Attempted suicide?
Nope. Nay attempted. Succeed suicide. I woke a couple days later, buried, terrified.
What?
My parents believed breaking the will of their bairns was a form of love. I thought my parents were punishing me for trying to take my own life by locking me in the box. I'll explain. When I was growing up, we had a wooden box. Each folk had a body. If the bairn was misbehaving beyond normal punishments, they were put in the box. Usually it was only for a few hours. If you tried to get out of the box, that's when they would lock you inside. I never liked being in the box. I would do everything I could to never be put in there. Anyway, I laid there for a good while, awaiting my dad to open the lid and remind me to pray for what I had done and ask forgiveness. But the box was never opened. So I started to cry out, hoping that someone would hear me. Still, the box remained closed. I had to get out. I started pounding on the box and breaking the wood eventually. Dirt started to flow in. I began to panic, but somehow in the mix of panic and terror, I clawed my way out. Now fully understanding what I had become, it would take some years. I still believing that I had failed in ending my life, and my parents had punished me worse than any time before. I started to dinner home. On my way, I started feeling ravenous. So much, it was almost overwhelming. I was passing by a farm when this sensation burst me. I felt this animalistic rage. I jumped the fence. The animals just kinda looked at me and didn't pure move. I grabbed the lamb. The poor thing had no idea what was coming. I held on tightly as I started to pull its leg off with ease. I tried to muffle the screaming, but the farmer had started to come outside. I took off and hid. I had managed to get some of its blood on my hand. I licked it off as best I could, which seemed to help make the ravenous sensation going away. I started to feel better as I made my way home. I timidly walked in, hoping my parents wouldn't be rage if I broke out of the box. They weren't rage, just purely horrified. My mom screamed and ran to the back of the living room. My dad came out of the bedroom, looked at me covered in dirt and blood, and proceeded to call me all sorts of names, claiming that I was a witch. I minded so clearly. My ma's next words were simply to call me Satan's whore, and that I'm nae their bear. In tears, I kept trying to apologise, but they wouldn't listen. My dad grabbed some rope and tied me down as my mother ran out the front to get the town's covenanter. At this point, my father dragged me into the town square. As people gathered, the covenanter returned with my mammy and took a good long swatch at me and had me thrown in prison. The witch finder general arrived a couple days later and wanted to put me through initial testing to prove the claims before bringing in the pricker. I just wanted to go home, but nobody listened to my pleas, nor cared. So on the first day the witch finder arrived, they began. The first test was by far the dumbest thing. Honestly, the patriarchy is glaiked. Wow, were these men the dumbest people ever. I do pure protect men. The Kemmers encourage but didn't run the trials, you ken. The first trial was called a witch cake. They stripped me down naked in front of the entire town as the witch finder stared at me with gross intent. This was the worst part of the trial. This humiliation they tried to make me feel, displaying me. Once he investigated my body, he got me to pee into a brass bowl. The witchfinder took my urine and mixed it into a paste with rye meal and baked it. This concoction was given to a dog in hopes it would entrance them to speak my name, thus making me a witch. The dog ate the cake and said nothing. And wouldn't you know, the witch finder became increasingly frustrated. He took me, naked, back to my jail, where I spent the next several days, hands tied wee scran in water, with a scold's bridle around my head, so as not to charm anyone. Finally, this expert arrived, the pricker. This prick was an expert in using needles to poke the body into revealing a witch's mark. For the next 3 days, I sat in a chair, naked, in my own filth, as this torturer poked me for hours on end. I call these tests dumb, but at the time, I was in my own hell. I couldn't ken why they thought I was a witch. I thought this was my punishment for going against God by trying to take my life. I was a glaiked bearing in love, and then the love was taken away. The possibility of having a folk was gone. In my parents' eyes, I would be a pariah. I wanted to save them the embarrassment by leaving this world. Not awaken in a box feeling like I'm being punished for being alive. This torture test, of course, failed. The witch finder insisted I was a witch, so there was another test. The water trial. They tied me up and threw me in the water. If I float, I'm a witch, and they would lynch me and burn me. I drown, I'm innocent, and I die with the honor of going to heaven. The witchfinder and the prick got a spectacle as they paraded me down to the loch naked, dry blood and delirious after a couple cutty words and asking me to confess to being the witch. They pushed me in. The town watched as they floated down to the bottom. Drowning is not particularly my favourite way to die. My body fought to find air, and I thought this time I would for sure die. On my last breath, there was a splash. My father jumped in the water and dragged me out. Took me home. I recovered. But since that act, my parents were ousted from the community. I spent their days taking care of them, which unfortunately wasn't much longer. They developed a sickness that consumed them both. We never talked about what had happened. Ever since then, I've loathed and tainted more times than I can count. Grief has become so numb to me. I ache to feel it again.
Stasha, thank you for sharing.
Cheers.
Damn, Stasha.
Shut it.
Right. Just wanted to say.
Don't.
Right. Sorry.
Reverend, I have a question.
Go ahead.
I was hesitant to talk about my story because of how fantastical it is. But listening, I've heard stories equally fantastical and terrible. Yet, you don't seem fazed by this. Why not?
That's a fair question, my dear. I've heard stories of all kinds. I've been saying the whole time, no judgment and no shame here. It's not my place. If every word each of you has said today is a lie, then so be it. You are all clearly in pain and want to rediscover who you are now. This group was created for just that. If you need to lie to get to the truth, that is just as valid.
I didn't lie.
Well, you've all had a very challenging day. Next week, we will try to keep it a bit lighter. That is the end of today's group. If you don't mind moving your chair back up against the wall, please. Violet, why are you still here?
It didn't help.
Give it time.
I thought if I connected with a group, it would help me feel less alone. I know the grief will still be there, but this loneliness is still here.
Today was your first day.
I know, I guess I was hoping this weight would lift off me once I shared. And it hasn't. It's just made it a bit worse.
You need to allow yourself the gift of time.
I don't know if I have time.
Of course you do. If you keep coming and connecting with people here, before you know it, you will have your own community again, and it may help with the loneliness.
I don't know.
Here's a little secret for you. I was where you were sitting for a long time before I started running a group of my own. I understand it's hard. If it were easy, there would be no groups like this.
Yeah.
I just took one day at a time, found joy in unexpected places with unexpected people.
I get that. But what about after? I go home and she is still gone, and there is nothing I can do.
You have to sit with it, and then you rinse and repeat.
It's just so damn hard.
Yes, but one day it won't be.
I know. I think that scares me the most.
Why?
This grief gives me hope that one night when I go to sleep, there she will be in my dream again, and I will never have to wake up.
You can still wish and hope without the pain of grief.
I don't know how to.
That's why you're here. Okay, well, I got to go. Franz needs a ride back to their complex, and they get a little anxious with time.
Thank you.
Welcome to the group. I'm glad you are here with us. See you next week. By the way, take your time. You're free to stay here as long as you need. There may still be a couple donuts if you want.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah, I'm okay. It's just a hard day. I'll be there in about 30 minutes. Yeah. What? Shit, no. I spilled coffee. Repeat what you said. Your friend, the astral projector? How am I supposed to do that? They can reunite us? Sort of. What does that mean? Stop. I don't care. Any chance is better than none. Yeah, I'll be over. Yeah, see you soon. Bye.
Pain and suffering is a gift, yet between them it creates a rift. I must admit, I have a story to tell about this human form which fell.
The terrible tartness in your tasteful temperament leads the way for us to tell our tenacious tall tales of temporary tortured temples we must inhabit.
Lamentably, 'tis the hour of our bewitching. The gentleman of dark and I must bid you good night.
And adieu.
You just heard tonight's performance of the Dark Pony Radio Show, with voices from the Dark Pony players, Nicola Wren, Matt Sachs, Max Bessner, Matthew Kelly, Terrell X, and Megan Noel Johnson. Sound design and engineering from Benjamin Conklin. Our theme song, Twilight of the Prophet's Decline, written by Terrell X and Benjamin Conklin, performed by Carnage the Executioner, courtesy of the artist. Dark Pony Radio is created and written by Aid Hajjaj. This has been a Dark Pony production.